What's up, Cowboys Nation? Welcome back to the channel. Before we dive into today's major topics, let's take a second to appreciate what the Cowboys team is trying to do. After another season that fell short of expectations, Dallas is focused on making the necessary moves to improve, compete, and bring home a championship. And that means making smart decisions in free agency. The Cowboys are entering the offseason with a potential $100 million in cap space, a huge number that gives them flexibility. But instead of going all in on the biggest names available, COO, Stephen Jones has made it clear that Dallas will be selectively aggressive in how they spend their money. But what does that mean for key positions like wide receiver? Could the Cowboys make a move for Tampa Bay Buccaneers star Chris Godwin instead of splurging on someone like T. Higgins? And what about Micah Parsons? Could Dallas actually risk losing their defensive superstar to a division rival like the Washington Commanders? We're breaking it all down in today's video, so before we get started, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on your Dallas Cowboys. All right, let's get into it. One of the biggest offseason needs for the Cowboys is adding a second wide receiver to take pressure off CeeDee Lamb and maximize the team's investment in Dak Prescott. There's been a lot of buzz around Cincinnati Bengals star T. Higgins, but there's one big problem: money. Lamb is due for a contract extension that could pay him around $34 million per year. Dak's next deal could make him one of the highest-paid quarterbacks in the league. Higgins could command close to $30 million per year. That's a lot of money tied up in just a few players. So if the Cowboys want to improve at WR without breaking the bank, they might need to look at a Tier 2 option, someone who can still be a difference maker, but at a slightly lower cost. Enter Chris Godwin. Why does Godwin make sense? Proven production. He's a perennial 1,000-yard receiver with a reputation for being a crisp route runner. Reliable second option. He's played alongside Mike Evans in Tampa Bay and has thrived in that role. Cheaper than T. Higgins. While Higgins might demand $30 million per year, Godwin could be in the $20 million per year range, according to Mike Fisher. From Cowboys country, the idea of signing Godwin isn't coming from inside the Cowboys front office, but rather from logical roster-building strategy. So could Dallas actually make this move happen? Before we get too excited, there's one major roadblock. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers want to keep Chris Godwin. Bucs GM Jason Licht recently made it clear that Tampa Bay sees Godwin as a core part of their franchise. Hopefully we can come to an agreement with him because Chris means the world to this organization, to all of us individually, but as an organization as a whole. If I were a betting man, I'd bet on Chris. That means if Dallas wants to sign him, they could end up in a bidding war. If the price gets too high, do the Cowboys walk away? Or do they prioritize adding another weapon for Prescott and make a strong push for Godwin? One thing is for sure. If Dallas wants to be a true Super Bowl contender, they can't afford to rely solely on CeeDee Lamb. They need another consistent, reliable receiver to balance the offense. Now, let's shift gears to another massive offseason storyline: Micah Parsons' future in Dallas. Parsons has been a game-changing player for the Cowboys ever since he entered the league. He's posted at least 12 sacks per season and has established himself as one of the best defensive players in football. But there's a problem. He's entering the final year of his contract, and as we've seen with Dallas dragging their feet on paying Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb, this front office has a history of waiting too long to lock up their stars. Could that cost them Parsons? NFL analyst Kay Adams recently made a bold statement about Parsons' future. On her show Up and Adams, she warned Cowboys fans to watch out, because if Dallas doesn't get a deal done soon, Parsons could follow Dan Quinn to Washington. So if Dallas does not get Micah his extension, Micah, who has lots of reverence for Jerry Jones but knows it's a business. Between Jaden Daniels and his connection with Dan Quinn, just watch out. This is a serious warning for the Cowboys. If Parsons feels undervalued or frustrated, he could easily take his talents to a division rival like the Commanders, Eagles, or Giants. Imagine seeing Parsons sacking Dak Prescott twice a year in a Washington jersey. That's a nightmare scenario for Cowboys fans. Jerry Jones has two options if he wants to keep Parsons long-term. One, pay him now, offer Parsons a record-breaking contract that makes him the highest-paid defender in the NFL. Build a true contender, put together a dominant team that convinces Parsons to stay in Dallas and chase a championship. The easiest and most effective solution? Pay Parsons before it's too late. We've already seen teams like the New York Giants regret losing Saquon Barkley to the Eagles. If the Cowboys let Parsons walk, they could end up making the same mistake, except this time, it's a generational defensive player. Osa Odigizua has been a reliable force in the middle of the Cowboys' defensive line since being drafted in the third round in 2021. He hasn't missed a single game in 3 seasons. That alone is impressive in the NFL. In 2024, he had a career-high 47 tackles and 4.5 sacks, stepping up when Micah Parsons and other stars were dealing with injuries. He's played alongside DeMarcus Lawrence and Parsons, carving out a role as a key piece of this defense. But here's the big question. Is Osa a star? Because right now, that's what the Cowboys have to figure out. Do they pay him like an important role player or like a franchise cornerstone? Cowboys are negotiating. But what's the price? There's good news. Dallas has already started negotiations with Osa's camp. Cowboys COO Stephen Jones confirmed this recently, saying, "We have had negotiations with Osa. I just think Osa is a really good football player. He's an important piece." Now, did you catch that? He called him really good, but not great. That's an important distinction, because in today's NFL, there's a huge difference in how teams pay really good players versus great players. And that's where the $80 million problem comes in. Right now, there are rumors that Odigizua's market value could be around $20 million per year, which would put him in the range of a 4-year, $80 million contract. Is he worth that? Let's break it down. Pros: he's durable, never missed a game. He's improving every year and had his best season in 2024. The Cowboys' defensive tackle depth is weak, so losing him would create a major hole. Cons: he's not a dominant force like Aaron Donald or Chris Jones. He's not a major pass-rushing threat, which limits his value. Paying him big money could hurt the team's ability to sign other key players, like Micah Parsons. Now, if Dallas was truly all in on 2025, they might just bite the bullet and pay him. But at what point does aggressive spending turn into reckless spending? Cowboys' new approach: selectively aggressive. The Cowboys have promised to be more aggressive this offseason. Stephen Jones has talked about moving away from their passive approach in free agency and actually spending money to improve this roster, but they also keep using the phrase selectively aggressive. What does that mean? It means they want to spend, but only when it makes sense. So is paying Osa $80 million selectively aggressive or just overpaying? This is where Dallas has to be smart. They need to invest in their best players, but they also can't blow their cap space on role players. All right, Cowboys fans, now it's your turn. Do you think Dallas should go after Chris Godwin, or should they look elsewhere for a WR2? And how do you feel about the Micah Parsons situation? Are you worried the Cowboys might drag their feet and risk losing him to a division rival? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We want to hear from you. And before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss an update on your Dallas Cowboys. Thanks for watching. Go Cowboys!